Since you all had registered, you must have got an email as well. So in that email, what we've sent you, we had sent 3 of the installation sheets. In that you had your WSL installation sheet, you had an installation sheet for OpenFOAM 9, and you have an installation sheet for OpenFOAM 2412. So I hope all of you have at least tried to install WSL. Now I have already WSL on my system because I've already installed it, because if I would have to show it during this session, I would basically log out multiple times. So before you go ahead with this sheet, you have to make sure that you have the Windows subsystem for Linux and virtualization enabled on your system. To do that, you can type in your Windows system, turn Windows features on and off, and it will send you to this window. You can scroll down to the very last, and you'll see that virtual machine platform is enabled, and you have to see that Windows subsystem for Linux is enabled. These 2 features are necessary for installing WSL and OpenFOAM. So once you click those, it will ask you to restart your system. So you can click on OK and you can restart it. I'm not going to do that now. I already have. So once you've done that, you can go ahead with everything that is specified in this document. So this installation session will be a follow along. So you can side by side open your laptops and move ahead with me. If you have any issues while following any of these, you can raise your hand or put it in the comment box. Our basically CFD team will help you over there. If it's too big of a problem, we will take it up in the Q&A session that we have at the very end. Okay. So the very first thing you will do in this document is open your Windows PowerShell. So I'll type over here Windows PowerShell and run it as an administrator. Okay. So click yes. So as an administrator, it will show you on top over here that it's running as an administrator. So make sure you're in the administration mode. Then once you scroll down, you'll notice in step 2, it is written here WSL. Basically, you have to run this command. So we'll copy this, copy, and paste it. Now, when you're pasting anything in the terminal, just make sure that the space and everything is proper and you don't select these double inverted commas, because most of the time people end up selecting this entire thing this way and it gives an error. So make sure you only select the code, the line of code that is over here. Okay. And see the space also. Now see, after WSL there's a space and after install there's a space. So you have to change that over here after install and add install. So what this will do is, once you run this code, it will execute a set of commands. It will start to install Ubuntu 22.04. So once you do that, it'll ask you to restart your system once again. So you will have to restart it, and then it will once you've restarted your system, it will automatically open one window that is your Ubuntu environment. It should look something like this. So if I type Ubuntu 2204, so it will open a system like this and it will ask you to make your user ID. Now mine is already created. So when you're creating your user ID, you will basically type in your name and then it will ask you to set a password. So when you are setting up your password, make sure that it is something simple that you will remember and write it down if you forget it. So save it something simple like 123 or 1234, because no one else is going to access your system. And when you're typing in your password, it will not show it in the terminal. So if I would have to, I'll show that while when you are running your installation thing, that time it will ask you to basically you have to type in your password. So when you're typing in that password, make sure that you are writing it properly and it will not show in your terminal. It will ask you to again reconfirm that password. So that's when you type in the proper password once again. Once you've done that, it will again, most of the time it will restart your system. It will ask you to restart, or you'll have to just close this window and open Ubuntu once again. So once you'll open Ubuntu, it will show you this way, whatever name you set, and it will create your user for Linux. Once you are done with this and you've successfully done it, then you can go ahead with the second sheet. So this was for WSL. Then you can go ahead with the OpenFOAM 9 installation. So again, In this, you follow the set of commands that are given over here. So the very first one is, I'll show you this completely for OpenFOAM 9. You copy this and you open Ubuntu. Okay. So now over here, I'll paste it. But notice that this command, even though it is kept on two different lines in the PDF, it's a single command. So it is all together. Okay. And again, in this command as well, notice the spaces between the lines. Because if you don't type in the proper command, it will give you an error while installing. So see, over here, it will ask me to type in my password. So this is where I'm typing in my password, but it is not showing. So I've typed in my whole password, but it has not shown anything. So this is just a feature of Linux. So keep in mind that. So once you click on enter, it will install some things. Basically, this command will just create a repository and all that. So these two commands are there to create a repository. The first one will just link those things. The second one will create your repository for OpenFOAM. Again, copy this one. Again, just confirm that the space between each of those commands is proper. Okay. It will ask me to press enter. So once you click on enter, it will take some time to just unload all those packages that it has. Okay. So once that is done, you can select the next command. This will just update your whole repository. Okay. Enter. If you've not done this yet, I'd suggest that you do it side by side because if you have any errors, then at the end you can ask us that as well. Okay. Then we'll go to the next command. We failed to fetch some files. There's a space between Y. Since I had OpenFOAM 9 installed, so it will not give me any problem. But in case you have any of the errors over here at the end of the sheet, okay. So in case you have any errors while installing, I'll show you a way to go about it. So you can type OpenFOAM 9 download. Okay. So the very first option that is there, openfoam.org, you click on that, scroll down, you can open OpenFOAM 9 for Ubuntu. So over here, it's the very same set of commands that they've given. So you can scroll down and you can see they've given some fixes for any of the errors that they get. So you can go about that and you can see if it clears your doubt, then you can basically go ahead. If you still are struggling with the installation of OpenFOAM 9, you can always email us as well. And there are multiple videos on how to resolve all of those issues. So YouTube is your best part. If you have any errors, you can always go onto YouTube, type in the thing, and you'll get some solution out. Yeah. So this is one way. Then again, we'll go back to the sheet. Once, okay, so this one is for gedit. We'll copy this. We'll paste this. Okay. So once gedit is installed, you have to add a single line in your bash rc file. Now I'll show you the bash rc file. So you can type gedit or you can copy that code as well. We'll copy the same thing. Okay. So once you open your bash rc file, you have to scroll down to the very end. Okay. So over here, you have to add, just ignore this line. In your file, you will only have it till basically this line, that is FI. That will be your last letters in your whole file. After that, you have to add this line that we've given here. Source OPT OpenFOAM 9 etc bash rc. What this is going to do is it will source your OpenFOAM 9 every time you open your terminal. If I were to open my Ubuntu terminal, it would by default open OpenFOAM 9 only. But since we're installing two versions, we don't want that to happen. That's why we have something known as an alias. So an alias, it is something that we will basically, we are giving a keyword, say OF9, and within that we are telling it to source OpenFOAM 9. Now, what does this line mean? I'll show it to you as well. So once you've done your WSL and everything, on the left hand side, you will have a tab known as Linux, and then you'll have Ubuntu 22.04. So if you were to open this and go to OPT, then you go to OpenFOAM 9. So this is what it will source. This okay. So if you see the code, source OPT OpenFOAM 9 etc. So in OpenFOAM 9, I have to open etc, and in this I have my bash rc. So it is basically sourcing this particular file to run OpenFOAM 9. That is what we're typing in this line. So in our case, we will type alias OF9, and you will have basically the source OpenFOAM 9. So you can type this in the 2412. I have written the same line. So you can always refer to that if it is too confusing in this particular document. So this one was for OpenFOAM 9. So when you're installing OpenFOAM 12, I'll scroll down. Use, yeah. So over here, I've written the proper thing, how to basically add an alias for OpenFOAM 9. So you can refer to this as well. You can copy this line and paste it into your bash rc file. Okay. So once you're done with basically adding this line of OF9 in your bash rc file, you can close this, you can save it, and then you can close it. Once you've done that, you can type source, or you can copy this command over here. Okay, so you can paste this source. And once this is done, you can close your terminal and basically restart it, Ubuntu. Okay, so now every time I open my terminal, I would have to type OF9. So that will source OpenFOAM 9. Now after this, if I want to check whether my installation is done properly, I can type blockmesh and then press enter. But then obviously you have to go into a run direct. So the very first thing you will do once your installation of OpenFOAM 9 is done, you will make a directory, basically a run directory. So you can do mkdir space p. Again, these commands are given in this installation sheet. So you have to make a directory. Everything is explained in this sheet as well. So you can do mkdir space dash p. So let's copy this and paste it. Okay. So again, see, make sure that the space is properly put, otherwise it will give you a command not found error. Okay. So what this has done is it will create in 22.04. You go to home. In this, you'll have your own name, and then you'll have OpenFOAM. So in OpenFOAM, it will create in your OpenFOAM 9. Now I have additional files. It will create a run directory basically. Why is this run directory needed? It is because when you're running any simulation, you OpenFOAM might not give all the permissions to the files because you can't modify each and every file. Otherwise, you will, say, suppose you modify some source code and then you can't revert it back. It will give you an error. So that is the reason why we create a run directory. So that run directory, it has all the permissions, you can say, to run a specific case. So in that you can modify all the cases, you can modify each and every file, and you can save those. So this run directory is made for that very reason. So to access that run directory, you just have to type, once you've done mkdir and created your run directory, you just type run and you press enter. By default, it will, if you're in OpenFOAM 9, it will take you to OpenFOAM into your this, and it will take you into your run directory. Okay. Now in this run directory, again, there are a set of commands you can run. So in this command, you are basically copying a tutorial case into your run directory. So in this command, just when you're copying it, notice that there's a full stop at the end. So you copy that full stop as well. What that full stop is for, suppose I copy it and paste it. Okay. Again, just check the spacing. So what this is doing is basically your cp-r is saying that copy -r, that is your entire directory or that entire file, from, that is your foam tutorials, that is a tutorial file, into in that you have your incompressible file. Within that you have a simple foam file. Within that you have a pitch daily file. So what you're doing is copying this pitch daily file, and this full stop, it means that in whichever file you currently are, now we are in the run directory, it is copying this pitch daily into that run directory. So that's why there's a significance of that full stop. So kindly note that when you're copying anything and that full stop is there, copy the full stop as well. I'll show you where this whole directory is. So once you install OpenFOAM, so let's get home. Okay. So in OPT, OpenFOAM 9 will be there. In this, you have tutorials. So these are a set of basic tutorials that you have, because if you have to create any file, you will choose one of these tutorials. Now, say I was supposed to create a simple flow in a cylinder. So I know that my flow is of low Reynolds number. So I will have an incompressible flow. So I will open incompressible. Over here, you can choose the different solvers that are available. So you have icofoam, you have pimple foam, you have piezofoam. Icofoam is your incompressible foam, but this is a transient solver. Okay. Piezofoam is your pressure solver. Same goes for pimple foam. And then you have simple foam. Simple foam is your laminar case solver. So we'll click on, say, suppose simple foam. In this, we have the pitch daily. So this is the same file that we are copying into our run directory. So you can manually copy it as well. Like say I was supposed to copy it, say Control C, Control V. I copy it from here and I paste it into my run directory. Okay. I can do it manually as well. Okay. So say I was supposed to paste it manually. I pasted it manually. But on Windows, when you copy paste manually, or you're basically copying it physically and going there and pasting it back again, you will have an additional file called this zone identifier. So you see, in all of these zone identifier files are there. These are not necessary. You can delete them. But then again, if you have a very large file, you will end up spending more time deleting these files than doing any actual practical work. That is why you have these commands. When you copy using these commands, it does not copy that zone identifier file over here. So you'll have a clean case and you don't spend time deleting unnecessary files. So yeah, this is one reason for going ahead with such commands. It's simple. In the beginning, you'll find it's a bit overwhelming, but as time passes, you will get used to this. So you will have, so okay. So once you've done this, since we've copied this, we don't really need this anymore. Okay. So I would do CD and then enter the pitch daily file. So your CD is to enter a file, whereas CD dot dot will be to exit a file. So these are some basic commands that you have for Linux as a whole. So you can always use these simple commands to go back and forth instead of opening multiple terminals. And you can always use your top arrow key or your down arrow key to basically view your previous commands that you've ran in your terminal. So if I were to press my top arrow key, I know that I've pressed CD dot dot. If I again press top arrow, I know I've pressed CD pitch daily. Now these are all the things that you can do. But since we've just installed it and we want to just verify your download is done properly, you follow the sheet that is given over here. So we've done CD pitch daily, then we do block mesh simple foam, and then we open parafoam. So we'll open this. So first we'll do block mesh. So we've created our mesh. Then we will run the solver name simple foam. This will basically solve the whole equations, everything, and it will give you an output. So the simple form solver, as I said, it's a steady state solver. So after 287 iterations, the whole simulation has converged. If I were to solve it with icofoam, it would go all the way up to the end time, and then you use parafoam. So you can, yeah. So once you do parafoam, it will open parafoam. You click on the apply button on the left. It will generate your file. You have the 2D case. Then on top over here, you'll have VTK blocks. And in this, you can click on U. Okay. And then you can click the play button. So this will run your simulation. I hope you can see this because I can't really make the font size big on this tab because ParaView has its own set of settings. So yeah, these all are there just to check whether your installation is done properly. Because sometimes when you install OpenFOAM, if you're on Windows 10 or any older version, when you install it using these commands, sometimes it may give you an error, like your ParaView might not load, or say your OpenFOAM is not installing properly. So as I said, YouTube is your best place to search for a solution. Otherwise, there are OpenFOAM forums as well in which they try to resolve all of these doubts. And if you still are facing any issues, you can always email us. Yeah. So this was to install OpenFOAM 9. Okay. Now for OpenFOAM 2412, it is the same approach, but there are a different set of commands that you have. Since this is an ESI version, so the set of commands are a little bit different. So the very first thing is I've given you two commands. One is a curl command, other one is a wget command. So whichever one is working for you, you can go ahead with that. So in our case, I'll go with curl. So I'll copy this. So this, once your OpenFOAM 9 is done, you can close this terminal because then we know that it is running fine. So let's open Ubuntu again. This time we won't type OF9 or anything. We'll just directly paste this command. Again, check whether the spacing is proper. So after curl, there's a space S. We'll just verify this. Yeah, curl space S. Again, it will ask me for a password. Okay, so in this, my repository is set up. So now it is ready for installation of OpenFOAM 2412. So if your first command works, you don't have to do the second command. It's only an option. If the first one does not work or it gives you an error, then only go ahead with the second one. You don't have to run both. Okay, then we just update our repository. Copy. And then you paste it. This will update the repository that we've already set properly. Okay. So once that is done, you go on to the installation. Copy. A note in this command, when you're installing OpenFOAM 2412, the ESI version allows you to download different versions of 2412 itself, depending on what you want to do with it. So if I were to type default at the end over here, as it is typed here, default, it will install OpenFOAM 2412 with all the tutorials and everything that is there for OpenFOAM 12. But if I were to delete it, only OpenFOAM 2412, like how we did for OpenFOAM 9, this will only download your OpenFOAM skeleton, you can say like skeleton version of OpenFOAM 2412. Because some people might not want the tutorials. They just want to develop something on their own. So for those people, you have different version. You also have a dev version, DEV, that is for developers. So again, you can always go on their official website. I'll show you that as well. So first we'll just do this. We'll type default. and you press enter. It will again ask you whether you want to install or continue. You type Y, that is your yes, and then you press enter. So while this is being done, you can basically search for OpenFOAM 2412. So yeah, so this is under the openfoam.com version. Okay. So you can open ESI version of OpenFOAM 12. On top, you can go to download and you can see for, let's say, Linux. And for over here under Linux, you click on Debian or Ubuntu. So see, you can run these commands as well. It's the very same thing. So see over here, there's a OpenFOAM default because they want you to install the tutorials as well. So if you can scroll down, you can see that there are multiple versions at the end. Yeah. So see, the minimalist version is your OpenFOAM 2412, whereas the traditional version in which you'll have your tutorials and everything, basically traditional will be your developer version and everything will have basically everything, your default version that will have your tutorials. So these are the three versions in OpenFOAM 2412 itself. If you want to download, say, an older version, say 2112 or 2012, you can just, while installing over here, you can just type, instead of 2412, you can type 2012. So that is the only difference that will be there. Okay. Yeah. So see, once it is done, you will basically get this message, triggers and everything. Again, if you've already installed gedit for OpenFOAM 9, you don't need to do this again. This is if you've not used gedit. And also if you want, optionally, you can install ParaView. Okay. I'll suggest that don't install ParaView yet. First check whether your OpenFOAM 2412 is installed properly. Only then go ahead with ParaView. So you do one thing at a time. Otherwise, you'll end up installing ParaView and it'll have a problem later. So again, you open gedit and you have to open your bash RC to basically add this alias. Now you have an alias for 2412. So let's do this one. I had already created an alias for 2412, but I'd never installed OpenFOAM 2412. So let's do that. So scroll down to the very end. You have an alias for OpenFOAM 2412. In this, it is sourcing USR lib OpenFOAM 2412 and the bash RC in that. Now, in OpenFOAM 9, you know that the file is in the OPT folder. OpenFOAM 9 is in your OPT. Okay, so if you were to find any tutorials, you'll go to your Ubuntu, you'll go to OPT, then you'll go to OpenFOAM 9, and then you'll go to tutorials. But for any of the ESI version or the .com version, if you have like 2412, 2312, or 2212, you will have it in a different folder. So if you scroll down, you will see there's a USR folder. In this, you have to go to lib. In lib, you scroll down, you will have one OpenFOAM folder. In this, you will have OpenFOAM and whichever version you have. So OpenFOAM 2412, and in this you have tutorials. Now, if you see, compared to your .org version or your OpenFOAM 9, you will have some basically additional tutorials. So if I were to show you in compressible, you will have, say, see this, in 2412, you have an acoustic foam that is to compute your sound waves in using OpenFOAM. Whereas if I were to open it, if I were to show you in OpenFOAM 9, under tutorial, under compressible, there is no acoustic foam. So depending on your application, you can choose between both these versions. Now OpenFOAM 9 is still an older version, so you won't have all the features that you want. That's why we have told you to install both the versions. So if you were to do some advanced computational fluid dynamics that requires you to have some solvers that are capable of doing that, and you are trying to do such a thing, so it will be advisable that you go with 2412. Whereas if you want something that is really basic and traditional and you just want to learn OpenFOAM, OpenFOAM 9 will be great because OpenFOAM 9 has most of the file structures and everything to the videos that are available online. So you won't have much of a mismatch. So if you're starting off with OpenFOAM, you can go ahead with OpenFOAM 9. And then once you are basically confident enough in OpenFOAM, you can go ahead with the 2412 version. Okay. Yeah. So once you are done with this alias, again, save, close, check the next command that you have. Again, then you source your bash RC. Your source is basically just updating that bash RC file. You can even close your terminal and do that. It automatically updates once you have opened your terminal fresh. So once you do source bash RC, you can again close your terminal, restart it. Now, if I type OpenFOAM 9 and I type run, okay. So now see, I am in my OpenFOAM 9 run directory. Now, if I were to type OpenFOAM 2412, so let's say we do cd dollar home. Okay. So then over here I do OpenFOAM 2412. I still have to make my directory. So I'll again run this command mkdir space p. Basically the same thing that we did for OpenFOAM 9. And then you'll create foam run. Okay. Now if I were to type run, it would take me to my run directory in OpenFOAM 2412. So you see, if I type OpenFOAM basically OF2412 and I type run, then I will enter the run directory of OpenFOAM 2412. If I were to type OF9, then type run, I would end up in my OpenFOAM 9 run directory. So see, this way you can have multiple versions. I'm not saying that you can only have OpenFOAM 9 or 2412. You can have many versions. If you want OpenFOAM 12, you can install that as well. If you want OpenFOAM, say the new 2506 is a little bit different in the installation. So you can go ahead with 2312, 2212. The same steps are there. You just have to change one letter or one number that is over here. Instead of installing 2412, you can install 23, 22, 2112. So this is just an overview of how to install OpenFOAM. Now you can verify again. You can either manually copy the files from your tutorial for OpenFOAM 2412, or you can again run this command. So we'll do cp-r till the full stop. Okay. Copy, and then we'll paste it. Again, check the space, enter. So if I were to show you now, if I type ls, it will show me pitch daily. That means there is a file in my run directory. So I'll again type cd pitch daily. Now I'm into my pitch daily folder. So in this, if I can show you, there's again a 0 constant system. I'll show you the file structure as well. Okay. So if I have to type tree, it will show me which files are there within this 0 constant system. So as I was saying, you have your 0. In this, you have your boundary conditions, basic boundary conditions, initial ones. So you'll have basically a velocity, if there's any turbulence parameter. So you will have your epsilon, k, nu tilde, omega, then you have pressure. Then again, in constant, you have transport properties, turbulence, all of those. So again, we'll verify whether the installation is done properly. So we'll do block mesh. Then you do simple foam. This will run again for some time. Okay, so 281 iterations, then it converged. Then you can open it in para view. Okay, click on apply. You can again see the same thing that was there in OpenFOAM 9. Okay. Now, in case when you type parafoam, it does not open paraview, or it gives you an error saying that it cannot find paraview or parafoam. In the sheet itself over here, parafoam, in case you get an error, you can install paraview manually using this command. So install, you basically sudo apt-get install paraview. Same command is there on top as well. Sudo apt-get install paraview. So if you're facing any errors while loading ParaView, you can install it manually. It will take some time because it has to unload many of those packages. Because ParaView comes with multiple packages, so it will take some time. Okay. Yep. So these are the basic ways of installing OpenFOAM 9 and 2412. Okay. So again, if you want to install any of the later versions, so you can download, say, OpenFOAM version 13. Again, you scroll down, click on Ubuntu, and then you can follow this. Note one thing that when you are installing any of the higher versions, at least in the .org, it will give you to which it will give basically some numbers over here that will give you a version of Ubuntu. So this one is compatible for Ubuntu 22.04. It is compatible with Ubuntu 24.04 as well. Okay. If I were to go to OpenFOAM 9, see over here for OpenFOAM 9, it will show that it is compatible with 18, 20, 21, and 22, and it is not compatible with 24. So if you ever install not OpenFOAM, but WSL version 24.04, you won't be able to install OpenFOAM 9. It will give you an error. So always when you're installing anything, check the very first lines whether it is compatible with the current version of Ubuntu. Okay. So just check these things. Same goes for the older versions of OpenFOAM, the basically OpenFOAM ESI versions. If you were to download OpenFOAM, say 1912 or 2012, you check whether they are compatible with your Ubuntu version as well. Otherwise, you will end up with errors and you won't be able to download it. Yeah. So this was the overview of how to download OpenFOAM and WSL. So see, okay, if there are any problems, you can ask now since we have time. So in your email that you had received, there was also one link, one YouTube link. Now, that was set for OpenFOAM 2412. If you are downloading OpenFOAM 2506, that is the latest version, you can refer to that video because in that they have told you how to build it from the source. Because since there are company changes there, it is not downloading the normal way. So you'll have to build it from the source. Setting up alias. It says it can't identify OF9. Okay, so I'll show the bash RC. Okay, so in your alias, have you specified properly with inverted commas and everything? Okay, and can you confirm whether your OpenFOAM 9 is installed properly? Because if your OpenFOAM 9 is not installed properly, it can't find this bash RC. This bash RC file for OpenFOAM 9 will only generate once your installation is done properly. Okay, so have you checked for typos or anything else? So it's OPT OpenFOAM 9 etc where. Okay. Did you type basically whether this code you've typed it over here outside before an alias? Because in the first sheet, if you see for OpenFOAM 9, we've told you to add this line in your bash rc file. But in the second installation sheet, you don't have to write that file. Basically, you don't have to write that line in your file. You can delete that line and directly type over the alias OF9. Otherwise, it will always by default start with OpenFOAM 9. Okay. Is anyone facing any installation problems?
I missed the installation at the start.
Okay.
Now I'm following a YouTube video on YouTube. Uh, there I'm stuck in the installation package of Ubuntu.
Okay. So you're still installing WSL, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what exactly is the problem in that you're facing?
So here I it's After I paste the code of uh, OpenFOAM V3, V13,
Hmm.
uh, I'm not able to get install the Ubuntu complete package. It's getting stopped at return to std out 1710 to 1710. That's
Okay.
it.
So you're trying to download V13.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in V13, you're downloading it for Ubuntu only, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And your Ubuntu version is, have you checked it is with 2404 or it is any higher than that?
No, I haven't checked. It is 22.04.
2204. Okay. So these two commands, did you run them together or you run it separately?
Okay, yes, there are two commands. I run those with togetherly. I didn't
O-
make it.
Okay. So first, just try running them separately. Like you
Okay,
run this one first, then you run the second one, and
okay,
then go ahead with the whole thing. If that resolves the issue, then good.
yes,
Because sometimes when you type both of them, it will only run one of them or it gives an
okay,
error.
yes, sir. I'll try.
Yeah. And one, when you're copying also,
Yes,
just
sir.
check whether there are proper spaces and all.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I mean that doubt got resolved. I ran the two codes separately. Got it. Here
Okay.
now, I have to run the code of this thing. OpenFOAM that only upgrade OpenFOAM 13. You told that it is better to start with OpenFOAM 9 if we are beginners. So shall I just change the number of 13 to 9? It will be okay.
E- I think the command is exactly the same, only the number is different. Yeah. So you have sudo basically apt get dash y install openfoam 9. Yeah. So it's the very same thing. You can just change the number from 13 to 9.
Yes, sir.